The quantum drive hummed to life, its ethereal glow bathing the bridge of the UES horizon in an otherworldly light. Captain Alina Chen felt a familiar tingle as the ship prepared to make its first jump beyond the solar system. Humanity's greatest achievement was about to be put to the test. "All systems go, Captain," Lieutenant Raj Patel reported from his station. "QD matrix stable. We're ready to make history." Chen took a deep breath, her dark eyes fixed on the view screen. "Initiate jump sequence, Mr. Patel. Let's see what's out there." The stars blurred into streaks of light, and for a moment, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Then, with a flash that seared itself into the retinas of every crew member, the horizon emerged into uncharted space. "Jump successful, Captain," Patil exclaimed, his voice thick with emotion. "We've done it. We're 20 light years from Earth." A cheer erupted on the bridge, but it died quickly as the main view screen flickered to life. Looming before them was a massive structure, its sleek lines and shimmering force fields speaking of technology far beyond humanity's reach. "My God," Chen whispered, "we're not alone." The next few hours were a blur of activity as the horizon's sensors scanned the alien structure and picked up transmissions in unknown languages. It wasn't long before a ship emerged from the station, its design so alien it almost hurt to look at. First contact protocols were initiated, and to humanity's surprise and relief, the aliens, who called themselves the Oraxians, were not only peaceful but expecting them. They were representatives of the Galactic Confederation, a vast network of spacefaring civilizations that had been observing Earth for centuries. As diplomatic channels opened and information began to flow, humanity's excitement grew. The galaxy was teeming with life, filled with wonders beyond imagination. But as Captain Chen and her crew were escorted to the Confederation's central hub, a massive space station called the Nexus, the first hints of tension began to emerge. The Oraxian ambassador, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, spoke in flawless English thanks to advanced translation technology. "We welcome humanity to the galactic community," it said, its voice melodious yet somehow unsettling. "Your species has great potential, but you must understand your place in the greater order." Chen frowned. "Our place?" "Yes," the ambassador continued. "The Confederation maintains peace and stability through a carefully balanced system of tribute and protection. Each new species is expected to contribute accordingly." The implications sank in slowly, but when they did, Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "Tribute?" she asked, her voice carefully neutral. "What exactly does that entail?" The answer was not what anyone from Earth wanted to hear. Resources, technology, and even people were to be donated to the Confederation in exchange for protection and access to galactic markets. It was, the Oraxians explained, for the greater good of all species. As days turned into weeks, and the initial crew of the Horizon was replaced by career diplomats and politicians, the true nature of the Galactic Confederation became clear. It was less a united federation of equals and more a thinly veiled empire, with older, more technologically advanced species lording over the newer arrivals. Back on Earth, opinions were divided. Some saw the Confederation as a pathway to the stars, a chance for humanity to take its place in a grand cosmic civilization. Others, however, recognized the familiar patterns of colonialism and exploitation. In a closed-door meeting of the newly formed Earth Defense Council, the debate raged on. "We can't possibly agree to these terms," General Sarah Martinez argued, her fist slamming down on the polished table. "It's nothing short of extortion." "But can we afford not to?" countered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the lead xenobiologist. "The technology they're offering could solve our energy crisis, cure diseases." "At what cost?" interrupted Zara Okoro, the Nigerian representative. "Our freedom, our dignity. We've seen this story before, right here on Earth. It never ends well for those forced to pay tribute." As the argument continued, UN Secretary-General Miguel Reyes sat in silence, his weathered face a mask of concentration. Finally, he held up a hand, and the room fell quiet. "We've heard from our diplomats on the Nexus," he said, his voice grave. "The Confederation is growing, impatient with our reluctance. They've hinted at consequences if we don't fall in line soon." A heavy silence fell over the room. It was Martinez who finally broke it. "Then we prepare," she said firmly. "We may be new to the galactic stage, but humanity has never bowed to tyrants. Not on Earth, and not in the stars." The decision was made. Earth would not pay tribute to the Galactic Confederation. Instead, it would prepare for the possibility of conflict while seeking diplomatic solutions and potential allies among other species. In the months that followed, humanity's first extrasolar colonies were established not as beachheads of exploration, but as fortresses. The quantum drive technology that had propelled the horizon was adapted for warships, even as diplomats worked tirelessly to form alliances with other species chafing under Confederation rule. On the Nexus, the political climate grew increasingly hostile. Human diplomats found themselves shunned by the dominant species, while whispers of military action against Earth began to circulate. Ambassador Julia Chung, Earth's chief representative to the Confederation, stood before the Galactic Council, her posture defiant despite the palpable tension in the air. "Humanity rejects the notion that freedom can be bought with tribute," she declared, her voice ringing out across the vast chamber. "We come seeking friendship and mutual respect, not subjugation. If the Confederation cannot accept this, then perhaps it is not the bastion of civilization it claims to be." Gasps and angry mutters filled the chamber. The Oraxian Primarch, leader of the council, rose to his full height, towering over the human ambassador. "You play a dangerous game, human," he hissed, his earlier facade of benevolence gone. "The Confederation's patience is not infinite. You would do well to reconsider your position before it's too late." Chang met his gaze unflinchingly. "Neither is humanity's patience, Primarch. We have faced extinction before and survived. We have overcome our own worst impulses, and we will not surrender our hard-won freedom to anyone, not even the masters of a galaxy." As Chang left the council chamber, her words echoing in the stunned silence, she knew that a line had been crossed. Humanity had made its stand, for better or worse. Back on Earth, as news of the confrontation spread, a mix of pride and fear gripped the population. Military enlistments soared, and research into defensive technologies accelerated. The first human-built warships, reverse-engineered from Confederation designs and enhanced with Earth ingenuity, began to patrol the solar system. Yet even as humanity prepared for the worst, hope remained. Not all species in the Confederation supported the status quo. Whispers of discontent reached human ears, hints of potential allies in the storms to come. In a secret meeting deep within the Nexus, Ambassador Chang met with representatives from 3 other species: the silicon-based Xerxes, the aquatic Morkai, and the energy beings known as the Valorians. "You're not alone in your defiance," the Xerxes ambassador buzzed, its crystalline body shimmering with barely contained excitement. "Many of us have long wished to challenge the Confederation's tyranny, but lacked the courage. Humanity's stand has ignited a spark," added the Morkai diplomat, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with intensity, "one that could become a blaze across the galaxy." As the clandestine meeting concluded, a new alliance was born, one founded on the principles of freedom and self-determination. It was a fragile thing, this coalition of the willing, but it carried with it the seeds of revolution. Yet the Confederation was not blind to these machinations. As humanity and its newfound allies prepared for an uncertain future, the powers that had ruled the galaxy for millennia began to mobilize their vast resources. The stage was set for a conflict that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. Humanity, the upstart species that dared to say no, found itself at the center of a brewing storm. The question on everyone's mind: From the gleaming towers of Earth's cities to the farthest reaches of Confederation space was the same. Would this be the dawn of a new era of freedom, or the beginning of humanity's extinction? As Captain Alina Chen stood on the bridge of the now upgraded UES Horizon, watching a fleet of Earth's first warships assemble in high orbit, she couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. They had come so far in so short a time, yet the greatest challenges still lay ahead. "Orders, Captain," Lieutenant Patil asked, his voice steadied despite the weight of the moment. Chen's eyes remained fixed on the viewscreen, on the vast expanse of space that had once seemed so empty, but now held both promise and peril. "Take us out, Mr. Patel," she said firmly. "Whatever comes next, we face it head-on. For Earth and for freedom." The Horizon's engines flared to life, leading the fleet into the darkness of space and into history. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what this young, defiant species would do next. The die was cast. The game of galactic politics had changed forever, and humanity was playing for keeps. The spark of rebellion. The Nexus hummed with an undercurrent of tension. In the months since humanity's defiant stand, the massive space station had become a powder keg of conflicting ideologies and barely concealed hostilities. Ambassador Julia Chang walked briskly through its winding corridors, her face a mask of determined calm despite the weight of her mission. Today's negotiations with the Confederation Council could determine the fate of not just Earth, but countless other worlds chafing under the yoke of tribute. As she approached the ornate doors of the council chamber, Chang allowed herself a small smile. The Confederation had no idea what was coming. The chamber fell silent as Chang took her place at the podium. High above, the tiered seats of the council loomed, filled with representatives from 100 different species. Some regarded her with open hostility, others with wary curiosity. "Esteemed members of the council," Chang began, her voice steady and clear, "I come before you today not just as a representative of Earth, but as a voice for all those who yearn for true freedom and equality in our galaxy." As she spoke, laying out a vision of a confederation reformed into a true partnership of equals, Chang's hidden earpiece crackled to life. A voice whispered urgently, "Package delivered. Countdown initiated." Chang's heart raced, but her exterior remained calm. The plan was in motion. Somewhere in the bowels of the Nexus, a team of human and alien operatives was about to blow the lid off the Confederation's darkest secrets. But before she could continue, a commotion erupted at the back of the chamber. Armored security forces burst through the doors, their weapons trained on the human ambassador. "Julia Chang," the lead officer barked, "you are under arrest for conspiracy against the Confederation and incitement to rebellion." Chaos erupted in the chamber. Shouts of protest mingled with cries of vindication. Chang stood firm, her voice rising above the din. "You can arrest me," she declared, "but you cannot arrest an idea. The truth will." Her words were cut short by a blinding flash and a deafening roar. The world spun, and darkness claimed her. On Earth, the news of the explosion at the Nexus and Ambassador Chang's apparent death hit like a shockwave. Emergency sessions of the UN Security Council stretched into days as humanity grappled with the implications. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, General Sarah Martinez paced like a caged lion. "This is an act of war," she growled. "We need to strike back, show them we won't be intimidated, and play right into their hands," countered Dr. Yuki Tanaka. "We don't even know who they are. This could be a false flag operation designed to provoke us into action." Secretary General Rice held up a hand, silencing the argument. "What we need," he said gravely, "is information. Real, actionable intelligence about what's really going on in the Confederation." As if on cue, a junior officer burst into the room, his face pale. "Sir," he stammered, "you need to see this. It's broadcasting on every frequency across the entire galaxy." The room's main screen flickered to life, revealing a face that drew gasps from everyone present. It was Julia Chang, battered but very much alive. "People of Earth, citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice strong despite her obvious injuries. "The attack you witnessed was not an act of terrorism, but a desperate attempt by corrupt elements within the Confederation to silence the truth. But they have failed." What followed was a data dump of staggering proportions. Financial records, classified military reports, and personal communications of high-ranking Confederation officials scrolled across screens throughout the galaxy. The picture they painted was damning. Systematic oppression, embezzlement on a galactic scale, and plans for military action against Earth and other problematic worlds. "This is the true face of the regime that demands our subservience," Chang continued. "But we are not alone in our struggle. Even now, allies across the galaxy are rising up, refusing to be silenced any longer." As if to punctuate her words, reports began flooding in from across Confederation space. On the desert world of Xerx Prime, crystalline beings shattered their tribute processing centers. In the deep oceans of Morkai, aquatic civilizations severed their ties to Confederation overlords. And in the gaseous realms of the Valorians, entire cities pulsed with the light of rebellion. The spark had been lit, and the galaxy was catching fire. Aboard the UES Horizon, now the flagship of Earth's fledgling navy, Captain Alina Chen watched the unfolding chaos with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Status report," she barked, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. Lieutenant Patel's fingers flew over his console. "Confederation fleets are in disarray, Captain. Many ships are standing down or outright defecting. But a significant force is mobilizing near the Arcturus sector." Chen's eyes narrowed. Arcturus was uncomfortably close to Earth. "Alert, Command. Tell them we're moving to intercept." As the Horizon and its battle group surged towards a potential confrontation, Chen couldn't shake a feeling of unreality. Just months ago, they had been explorers, seekers of knowledge. Now they were the tip of the spear in humanity's fight for survival. The ship shuddered as it dropped out of quantum space, and Chen's blood ran cold. Before them lay not just a Confederation battle group, but an armada. Hundreds of ships, from nimble fighters to lumbering dreadnoughts, filled the viewport. "They were waiting for us," Chen breathed. "All ships, battle stations. This is not a drill." The space around Arcturus erupted into a maelstrom of energy weapons and missiles. The human ships, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that seemed to catch the Confederation forces off guard. But numbers were telling. One by one, Earth ships winked out of existence, their debris adding to the deadly obstacle course of the battlefield. The Horizon shuddered under repeated impacts, its shields failing. "Captain," Patel shouted over the din of alarms, "we can't hold them much longer." Chen gritted her teeth, preparing to give the order to retreat. But before she could speak, new contacts appeared on the tactical display. A veritable swarm of ships dropped out of quantum space, their designs a hodgepodge of different species and technologies. A gruff voice crackled over the comm. "Looks like you humans could use a hand. The Free Worlds Alliance stands with Earth." Xerxes crystal ships, Morkai submersibles adapted for space, and shimmering Valorian energy vessels joined the fray. The tide of battle turned in an instant, catching the Confederation forces in a deadly crossfire. As the last enemy dreadnought turned tail and fled, leaving behind a field of broken ships and unfulfilled dreams of conquest, Chen allowed herself a moment of pure relief. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The Arcturus sector is secure. And let them know we're not alone anymore." In the days that followed, as the galaxy reeled from the revelations and the outbreak of open rebellion, new alliances were forged in the crucible of conflict. The Free Worlds Alliance, born in secret meetings and desperate gambles, now stood as a beacon of hope for countless oppressed species. On Earth, in the same bunker where tensions had run so high just days before, a new council convened. Human leaders sat alongside representatives from a dozen alien races, all united in their desire for a better future. Ambassador Chang, still bearing the scars of her ordeal, addressed the assembly. "We have won a great victory," she said, her voice solemn. "But this is only the beginning. The Confederation still controls vast swaths of the galaxy. Many worlds remain under their thumb, either through fear or ignorance." General Martinez nodded grimly. "They'll regroup, come at us with everything they've got. We need to be ready." "Not just ready," interjected Zalthrak, the Xerxes ambassador, his crystalline form shimmering with barely contained energy. "We need to take the fight to them. Show the galaxy that a better way is possible." A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Plans were laid, strategies debated. The Free Worlds Alliance would not be content to merely defend. They would liberate, revolutionize, and build a new galactic order based on mutual respect and true cooperation. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Tanaka approached Chang, his face etched with concern. "Julia," he said softly, "are you sure you're up for this? After everything you've been through?" Chang's eyes blazed with an inner fire. "I've never been more ready, Yuki. What I saw, what I experienced, it only strengthened my resolve. We have a chance to reshape the galaxy, to break cycles of oppression that have persisted for millennia. Whatever the cost, we must seize this moment." Tanaka nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Well then," he said, "I suppose we'd better get to work. The galaxy isn't going to liberate itself." As they walked out into the sunlight, where the first monuments to Earth's alien allies were already under construction, the horizon seemed to stretch into infinity. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but for the first time in galactic history, there was hope for a truly free and united cosmos. The spark of rebellion had become ablaze, and its light would illuminate the darkest corners of the galaxy. Galactic upheaval. The Great Library of Axiom, a vast repository of knowledge spanning millennia and countless species, had stood as a neutral ground since the early days of the Confederation. Now, its soaring crystal spires served as an impromptu command center for the burgeoning Free Worlds Alliance. Ambassador Julia Chung stood before a holographic display of the galaxy, her eyes tracing the ever-shifting lines of conflict. Red zones marked Confederation strongholds, while green indicated liberated systems. A sea of yellow highlighted contested regions where the battle for hearts, minds, and strategic resources raged on. "The Pelion cluster has fallen," reported Admiral Kiva, a Morkai strategist, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "That's 3 major shipyards now under Alliance control." Chung nodded, allowing herself a small smile. "Excellent work, Admiral. With those facilities, we can finally start to address our production shortfalls." But the victory was tempered by sobering news from other fronts. General Sarah Martinez, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance's military council, stepped forward, her face grim. "We've lost contact with our forces in the Vega sector," she said, her voice tight. "Intel suggests the Confederation deployed some kind of new superweapon. We're still assessing the damage, but early reports are not good." A hush fell over the assembled leaders. The Vega sector had been a crucial foothold for the Alliance, its resources vital to the war effort. Its loss could tip the balance back in the Confederation's favor. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, who had transitioned from xenobiology to head up the Alliance's R&D division, cleared his throat. "We may have something to counter this new threat," he said cautiously, "but it's highly experimental, and the ethical implications are significant." Before he could elaborate, alarms blared throughout the complex. A harried Abe burst into the room, his eyes wide with panic. "Multiple quantum space ruptures detected," he shouted. "Massive Confederation fleet incoming." The leaders sprang into action, years of conflict having owned their responses to a razor's edge. As they rushed to defensive positions, Chang caught Martinez's arm. "This is it, isn't it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The big push we've been expecting." Martinez nodded grimly. "Looks that way." They must have been massing forces for months, waiting for the right moment to strike. As if to punctuate her words, The first impacts rocked the library. Confederation forces had bypassed the outer defenses, bringing the battle directly to the heart of the Alliance. In orbit above Axiom, the scene was one of controlled chaos. The Alliance fleet, caught off guard by the sudden assault, scrambled to form a defensive perimeter. Captain Alina Chen, her UES Horizon now scared by years of conflict, barked orders as her crew fought to repel boarders. Engineering, reroute all non-essential power to shields. She commanded, her voice steady despite the maelstrom around her. Weapons, target their command ships. If we can disrupt their coordination, we might just have a chance. But for every Confederation vessel they destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. The strength of the attack was overwhelming, a testament to the resources the Confederation had been hoarding for this moment. On the surface, the situation was equally dire. Confederation dropships pierced the weakening planetary defenses, disgorging waves of troops into the library complex. The sacred halls of knowledge became a battlefield, priceless artifacts and ancient tomes caught in the crossfire. Julia Chang found herself in the thick of the fighting, a diplomatic datapad in one hand and a salvaged Confederation energy weapon in the other. She had long since shed the trappings of a mere ambassador, the realities of war having forged her into something far more. Fall back to the Central Archive. She shouted to a mixed group of human and alien defenders. We can't let them access the mainframe. As they retreated deeper into the library, Chang couldn't help but reflect on the bitter irony. This place, dedicated to the preservation of culture and the pursuit of wisdom, had become a stronghold of resistance, and now it might become their tomb. But even in the darkest moment, hope flickered. As Chang and her ragtag group made their last stand in the heart of the library, surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of a galaxy, a forgotten comlink crackled to life. "This is Dr. Tanaka," came the staticky transmission. "Project Phoenix is ready, requesting authorization for deployment." Chang hesitated for a split second, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. Whatever this Project Phoenix was, Tanaka's earlier reservations suggested it was not to be used lightly. But with Confederation forces closing in and the fate of the Alliance hanging in the balance, what choice did they have? "Authorization granted," she said, her voice barely audible above the din of battle. "May the stars forgive us." High above Axiom, in a hidden facility on the smallest of the planet's moons, Dr. Tanaka took a deep breath and initiated the launch sequence. A sleek, almost organic-looking vessel slipped free of its moorings, its hull pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "Phoenix 1, you are clear for quantum jump," Tanaka said, his voice thick with emotion. "Godspeed." In the vacuum of space, the strange ship seemed to fold in on itself before vanishing in a flash of light, unlike any quantum jump ever witnessed. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, as if reality itself was tearing at the seams, a massive shockwave rippled out from the point of the ship's disappearance. Confederation and Alliance vessels alike tumbled like leaves in a storm as the wave passed through them. But while the Alliance ships quickly regained control, the Confederation fleet seemed to sputter and die, their systems going dark. On the Horizon's bridge, Captain Chen stared in disbelief at her tactical display. "What in the name of Earth just happened?" she breathed. Her tactical officer shook his head in wonder. "Ma'am, it looks like every Confederation ship just lost power. They're dead in space." As the Alliance fleet rallied, turning the tables on their now defenseless enemies, the truth of what had occurred began to dawn on the stunned observers. Somehow, Project Phoenix had selectively targeted and neutralized Confederation technology, leaving Alliance systems untouched. On the surface of Axiom, the effect was equally dramatic. Confederation troops found their weapons and armor suddenly inert, while the defenders pressed their advantage. Within hours, what had seemed like certain defeat became an unprecedented victory. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the full scope of what had transpired became clear, the leaders of the Alliance gathered once more in the battered but unbowed library of Axiom. "Dr. Tanaka, looking haggard but relieved, explained the nature of Project Phoenix. "It's a quantum field disruptor," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of his creation. "Designed to target specific energy signatures unique to Confederation technology. We've essentially disabled their entire war machine in one stroke." The implications were staggering. In a single moment, the balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. The Confederation, once the undisputed master of known space, had been brought to its knees. But with great power came great responsibility, and the ethical quandaries were not lost on the assembled leaders. "We've won the war," General Martinez said soberly, "but at what cost? We've essentially bombed an entire civilization back to the pre-space age." Ambassador Chang nodded, her face etched with the gravity of their situation. "We set out to free the galaxy from tyranny," she said softly. "We must be careful not to become tyrants ourselves in the process." As debates raged about the proper use of their newfound advantage, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Confederation-held worlds, their oppressors suddenly powerless, rose up in revolt. Long subjugated species seized their chance at freedom, and in the power vacuum left by the Confederation's fall, new alliances and rivalries began to form. The galaxy was entering a new era, one fraught with both peril and promise. The Free Worlds Alliance, born in defiance and tempered by war, now faced its greatest challenge yet, building a lasting peace in a galaxy turned upside down. As the meeting adjourned and the leaders dispersed to tackle the monumental tasks ahead, Julia Chang found herself alone in the library's grand atrium. She gazed up at the star-filled sky visible through the damaged dome, marveling at how far they had come and how far they had yet to go. "We did it," she whispered to herself, a mix of triumph and trepidation in her voice. "Now comes the hard part." The stars seemed to twinkle in response, bearing silent witness to the dawn of a new galactic order. The upheaval had reached its climax, but the true work of rebuilding and reconciliation was only just beginning. A new dawn for the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the deployment of Project Phoenix, and the galaxy was still grappling with its aftermath. The grand chamber of the newly established Galactic Concord hummed with activity as representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered for a historic session. Ambassador Julia Chang, now serving as Earth's representative to the Concord, took a moment to survey the scene. The chamber itself was a marvel of cooperative engineering, seamlessly blending architectural styles from dozens of species. It stood as a symbol of the new era they were striving to build, one of true partnership and mutual respect. As the session was called to order, Chang couldn't help but reflect on the tumultuous journey that had brought them to this point. The fall of the Confederation had not immediately ushered in an age of peace and prosperity. Instead, it had sparked a new set of challenges that tested the resolve and principles of the Free Worlds Alliance. Chancellor Zalthrak of the Turksey Collective, his crystalline form shimmering with barely contained energy, took the podium. "Esteemed colleagues," he began, his translated voice resonating through the chamber, "we stand at a crossroads. The decision we make today will shape the course of galactic history for generations to come." The matter at hand was both simple and monumental: whether to reactivate the Confederation's quantum network, effectively restoring faster-than-light travel and communication to the former oppressors. It was a decision that had been debated fiercely for months, with valid arguments on both sides. As various representatives took turns presenting their views, Chang's mind drifted to the events that had led to this moment. In the immediate aftermath of the Confederation's fall, chaos had reigned. Centuries-old grudges erupted into open conflict as formerly subjugated species sought revenge against their one-time masters. Opportunistic warlords carved out fiefdoms in the power vacuum, while millions were displaced by the sudden collapse of interstellar trade and support systems. The Alliance had found itself thrust into the role of peacekeeper and rebuilder, a task it was ill-prepared for. The same weapon that had granted them victory now posed a moral quandary: how to use their technological advantage responsibly without becoming the very thing they had fought against. Captain Alina Chen, whose horizon had become a symbol of hope across the galaxy, had been at the forefront of these peacekeeping efforts. She vividly remembered the tense standoff in the Rigel system, where a coalition of vengeful species had been poised to unleash devastating weapons on a defenseless Confederation world. "We didn't fight this war just to become executioners," she had told her crew as they positioned the horizon between the attackers and their target. It had taken all of her diplomatic skill and the tacit threat of the Alliance's superior technology to defuse the situation. Similar scenes had played out across the galaxy, with Alliance forces working tirelessly to prevent atrocities and establish a framework for lasting peace. But it hadn't been enough to stop every conflict or save every life. The lowest point had come 2 years after Phoenix, when a radical faction within the Alliance had attempted to use the quantum disruptor technology to subjugate worlds that refused to join the New Order. The resulting civil war had been brief but brutal, forcing the Alliance to confront the darkness within its own ranks. Chang was snapped back to the present as Dr. Yuki Tanaka, now serving as the head of the Concord's Science Directorate, took the floor. His face was lined with the weight of responsibility, the burden of his creation evident in every word. "We created Project Phoenix out of desperation," he said, his voice steady but tinged with regret. "It was a weapon of last resort, never intended to be a permanent solution. The time has come to right that wrong." He went on to outline a plan for the gradual reactivation of Confederation technology, coupled with a comprehensive program of cultural exchange and reconciliation. It was an ambitious proposal, one that would require unprecedented cooperation and trust between former enemies. As the debate raged on, Chang found her gaze drawn to a small delegation seated in the observers' gallery. They were Confederation representatives, invited to witness but not participate in the proceedings. Their expressions were a mix of hope and trepidation, the fate of their civilization hanging in the balance. When it came time for Earth's vote, Chang rose slowly, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. She thought of all they had endured, all they had lost, and all they hoped to build. "Earth votes in favor of reactivation," she said, her voice clear and resolute. "But we do so with the understanding that this is not merely a technical process, but a moral and social one. We must commit ourselves not just to restoring technology, but to healing the wounds of the past and forging a truly inclusive galactic community." A murmur ran through the chamber as votes were tallied. In the end, the motion passed by a narrow margin. The galaxy would take its first tentative steps towards a new era of unity. As the session adjourned, Chang found herself approached by an unlikely pair, General Sarah Martinez and Araxian Primarch Jorlak, once bitter enemies, now working together on the Concord's Defense Committee. "Quite a day," Martine said, a wry smile on her face. "Never thought I'd see the time when we'd willingly give up our biggest advantage." Jorlak's facial tendrils rippled in what Chang had come to recognize as a sign of agreement. "It is a risk," the Araxian admitted, "but one we must take if we are to move forward. The old ways of domination and tribute led us to ruin. Perhaps trust and cooperation will serve us better." As they discussed the challenges ahead, Sean couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. The journey had been arduous, marked by tragedy and hard-won victories. But standing here, in this testament to galactic cooperation, she felt a surge of hope for the future. In the months and years that followed, the reactivation process moved forward slowly but steadily. Each step was carefully monitored, each restored system thoroughly vetted to prevent any return to the oppressive practices of the past. The Galactic Concord grew in strength and influence, evolving from a loose alliance into a true interstellar forum. New treaties were signed, cultural exchanges flourished, and joint scientific ventures pushed the boundaries of knowledge. It wasn't always smooth sailing. Old resentments flared up periodically, and there were those on all sides who resisted the push for unity. But with each challenge overcome, the bonds between worlds grew stronger. 10 years to the day after the deployment of Project Phoenix, a ceremony was held in orbit around Earth. Representatives from every known spacefaring species gathered to witness a momentous occasion: the launch of the GCS Unity, the first truly collaborative starship built with technology and expertise from across the galaxy. As the sleek vessel broke free from its moorings, cheers erupted from the assembled dignitaries. Admiral Alina Chen, her hair now streaked with gray, but her eyes as sharp as ever, watched from the bridge of the venerable horizon. "She's beautiful," Chen murmured, a touch of wonder in her voice. Beside her, Ambassador Chang nodded, her expression one of quiet pride. "More than that," she said softly. "She's a promise that we can overcome our differences, that we can build something greater than the sum of our parts." As the Unity gracefully maneuvered into position for its maiden voyage, Chang's comlink chirped. It was a message from the Concorde. A new species had been detected at the edge of known space, making its first tentative forays into interstellar travel. Chang and Chen shared a look, excitement mingled with a touch of apprehension. The cycle was beginning anew, but this time, the galaxy was ready. They would not repeat the mistakes of the past. "Shall we go say hello?" Chen asked, a twinkle in her eye. Chang grinned, feeling a flutter of the same excitement that had driven her all those years ago when humanity first reached for the stars. "By all means, Admiral. Let's go welcome them to the neighborhood." As the Horizon and Unity moved off in tandem, their crews a vibrant mix of species working in harmony, Chang felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The road had been long and fraught with peril, but they had emerged stronger for it. The galaxy spread out before them, vast and full of wonders yet to be discovered. And for the first time in millennia, it was truly free. Whatever challenges the future held, they would face them together, united in their diversity, stronger for their differences. A new dawn had broken for the galaxy, bright with the promise of peace, discovery, and limitless potential. And humanity, once the upstart newcomers, now stood proud among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as friends and equals in the grand tapestry of cosmic civilization. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.